Welcome to VVork as we continue to explore vRealize operations. This video is going to discuss a subtle but very important point that you need to know in order to use tagging correctly. In an earlier video, I casually mentioned something important, but I didn't really go into details. But it's important that you understand the following concepts in order to be able to use tagging in vRealize operations correctly. In that earlier video, I showed you that VMware vRealize operations automatically creates a tag called object types, and it has various tag values associated with it, such as virtual machine. I then casually showed you, hey, look a little lower in the list of tags and tag values, and we saw another tag called virtual machine, and it has its own tag values. And what I told you was you need to not confuse those two with each other. So let's explore what these each are and which one you're going to use more often than not. In the object type tag, we have tag values such as virtual machine. And you know from our demonstrations that when you select virtual machine, you will see a filtered down list of, in this case, the 17 virtual machines in our environment. Obviously here, this screenshot's been truncated. You would ordinarily see 17 VMs, not 4. So this is the tag value that we were using in the previous videos. But I casually mentioned that there's this other tag called virtual machine, and it has tag values such as this one here for 2012 release 2. Now, if I select that tag value, 2012 R2, I'm not going to see a list of virtual machines because that tag value is just for one VM. But notice when I select the 2012 R2 tag value, I don't see a VM in the resulting list. That tag value, 2012 R2, doesn't filter down to one virtual machine. Rather, what the 2012 R2 tag is doing is showing me all the objects that have this 2012 R2 tag value applied to it. In this case, the one and only thing that has that tag value is the data store that that virtual machine is stored in. So the 2012 R2 tag value in the virtual machine tag is not being used to tag any virtual machines. It's being used to tag objects that are related to the virtual machine mentioned in the tag value name. Now that's a subtle difference. We'll talk about this again here in a few moments, but let's take a look at another example. Earlier, we created a tag called SLA. If you look just casually at the screen here, you might mistake the word SLA here for being a tag, but it's not. The tag in this example here is object types. SLA in this case is a tag value. So in short, this is not the tag that we set up before. It got created as a result of the tag we created, but this is not the tag. What you're looking at here is something that VMware vRealize operations has set up automatically. Every time you create a new tag, a new object type entry gets created for that tag. But notice here it's created as a tag value. We'll clarify this in a moment. This is what we were striving to create. We wanted to create a tag called SLA with its 3 different tag values. Okay, so now that we know that the stuff on the bottom is what we're actually creating and wanting to work with, let's talk about what the stuff up above is. If you select the tag value called SLA, notice what gets displayed is not the host that we tagged with our tag values of gold, silver, bronze. Rather, when you select the tag value called SLA, what that is the objects that correspond to the SLA tag values that we created. So what this section on top is showing us is that vRealize operations has automatically created a tag value called SLA that's been slapped onto some objects, specifically some container objects called bronze, silver, and gold. And though it may be tempting to go click on SLA, the tag value, as we've done here, more often than not, what you want to do is go down to the tag called SLA and select its individual tag values, such as bronze, gold, and silver. Those tag values will show you the hosts that have those tag values assigned to them. Now, I know that that's a tad bit convoluted the first time you see it, and perhaps the second time and the third time, but I promise as you use tags and tag values more often, the more you use them, the more the points I'm trying to make in this video will make sense. In the meantime, if you're still struggling a bit to understand what on earth was Brian just trying to explain to me, for the time being, just focus on these general rules and you'll go far. So in general, when you're working with tags and tag values, if you're trying to filter down a list of all objects down to some type of vSphere object, then go into object types, the tag called object types. And there you'll find tag values such as VMs and hosts and so forth. So if you're trying to work with a vSphere object, use the object types tag and the tag value such as virtual machine that vRealize operations set up for you automatically. On the other hand, if you've created your own tag and tag values, if you're trying to use a tag or tag value that you created, don't go into object types. Instead, go look for your tag at the top level. In other words, if I scroll back here a little bit, if you're working with your own tags, don't go into object types. Instead, go into the top level object or top level entry that has the tag named the name you gave it. Now again, hopefully that makes sense. Let me just flash the general rules on the screen here for a few more moments. Again, if you did not completely grasp everything that I just explained, I'll take some credit for that. Explaining the concept is a bit challenging, but practice using tags and tagging. Use these general rules for a while, and then go back and watch this video again sometime a week or so from now, and it will make more sense. In these last 6 videos, we've been discussing tagging, one of the 4 different grouping mechanisms in vRealize operations. In the next video, we'll take a look at the next grouping mechanism called custom object groups.